I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts.
Good morning, Ghana, and welcome to another exciting edition of Captured by Women. My name is Abna. I'm in here with Esi and Nanama. As usual, we have a number of topics lined up for discussion, and we'll be going straight into it. But quickly, let me announce our sponsors. We are kindly sponsored by Grand Rice Company Limited, producers of Leap Tomato Paste, and Tinatet Herba, producers of Tinatet Tomac Mixture and Venicare. So today, what do we have for discussions? We'll start off on the spin, looking at Galamsey, indeed the fight against Galamsey, but this time we're looking at the President's decision to set up a committee to look into alternative jobs or livelihoods for Galamsey workers. What are the likely fallouts of this decision? Are there any positives or downsides to this? We'll be looking at that. On Big Bang 1, we'll turn our attention to the impact of proliferation of small arms in Ghana. A number of incidents have happened that has brought this issue to the fore. We will be discussing this with an authority on this area. And then lastly, we'll turn our attention to the unending picketing of some groups of teachers who are complaining about unpaid salaries for a period of 8 months and more. These are the issues we've lined up for today's discussions. As usual, it promises to be exciting on the show. We'll take a break. When we come back, we go straight into the spin, where we look at the fight against Galamsey. We'll be right back. Welcome back. On the spin this morning, we are looking at the fight against Galamsey, and this week we were informed of the President's decision to set up a committee to look into finding alternative jobs or livelihoods for persons engaged in the illegal activity of Galamsey. A number of thoughts have been put to this issue. We are also adding our voice to this. Ladies, what do you think? Interesting.
Well, it is interesting, of course, with the fight against illegality and the Galamsey issues. So it's illegal mining, and they're finding alternatives for these people, because definitely when they move out of doing what they're used to doing, they need to find something else to bring some money home and take care of family. However, my problem or my issue is, why are we putting so much weight on finding alternative livelihood for them? Because you're doing a wrong thing and you're just being asked to do right, and then life moves on. It's, for me, akin to certain groups then coming out to say, why don't we say then all armed robbers should stop what they're doing, they should just come forward, we're going to find alternative livelihoods for them. They know what they're doing is bad, and so if we've come together as a nation to stop it, I'm not saying we shouldn't fight. It's just, for me, another way of saying you're finding jobs for unemployed people. That is what we already need to do as a country. So there should not be so much focus on only the alternative livelihoods for Galamsey workers. It should be for general unemployed people. And then maybe we can start that discussion, rather than pumping money into a sector where it feels like, stop, you're wrong, come and let me reward you by giving you an already made job or showing you a way to go. But I think we should just talk about getting jobs for unemployed persons.
I think it's a very dangerous precedent we are about to set, because here's the thing, like you're saying, these are people, but even before we go into that, the question is, who is the President's committee targeting? Because for lack of a better phrase, let me say there's a value chain in this illegal business. You have those behind, the people we say are the chiefs, the politicians, quote unquote, these are the matriarchs and the patriarchs in there. And then you have the laborers who are actually in there doing the dirty job, really, literally.
I think for now, we're looking at those who work at the site.
But the question then is,
but people, they also have things that they do that
fantastic. So that's why we need to interrogate it, because then if you're looking at the laborers, like Amma said, these are people who are looking for better jobs. So then the mantra about jobs would go to them. Yes, but then if you are saying stop, the point is there are people higher up the ladder who are behind this. So who are you addressing this thing to? Is it those who are masterminding it, or those on the side? Because those on the side are there at the behest of certain people.
Right.
So how do we deal with it? Because like you're saying, those people already have good jobs. They don't need any job coming from the president anyway. So if you're targeting those, the laborers, if you like, then they fall into the general category of people who are looking for employment or better jobs.
I think the president's call doesn't capture, for example, those we don't even know them, whether the
those
politicians.
It
those
can't
are
even
the,
capture them because they have
exactly.
jobs.
We don't even know them. My point here is that we have thought of stopping a certain kind of people, group of people who we think that they are destroying our water bodies, our lands, and all that. We had plans of stopping these people. We should have put plans in place to ensure that when these people stop this particular job that they are doing, what are they going to do? Why do we start and then at a point we come in to say that we have formed a committee? And mind you, these committees that we set, they also take money. They don't do that for free.
Exactly.
We pay them. And so it is also going to add up. I think that they should have added that to the plan, and ensuring that they stop.
I've been asking this question, what really is the big plan to fight Galamsey?
Before we even tackle that, Abby, because I mean, yes, I guess we all are going into the same tangent. My problem right now is some people have already found their alternatives. Okay, we know some people who have moved from Galamsey now to logging. Illegal logging, as it were.
So that clearly cannot be an alternative.
From illegality to illegality,
Exactly.
and that's why I have a concern. Because if they're looking for more lucrative jobs, then it's something that we're supposed to be providing on a broad scale for every unemployed Ghanaian, because we want to better the individual's, state, as it were. So if we're going to do that, then we need to bring this on the table to discuss generally what opportunities is there for the Ghanaian unemployed person to go into, rather than just singling out Galamsey for me, because they would always, you see, they keep saying, if you hear them, the amounts they quote, the 80,000, I get 80 million when I do just one.
But nobody has proven that. People can just come up with figures, really.
Definitely. But they seem to think it's the top-notch job for them, that nothing else, like farming. Why can't you go into farming in your area if you think it's there, it's available? But because they think they can't make that much money they were doing in the Galamsey. So for me, it's a big issue. I don't think finding only the alternatives may be the way out.
So
the whole mindset.
Maybe they should come out to tell us exactly. Well, that is why
that's
why the committee is to be set up.
Exactly what they would be doing. So, as you said, the value chain. Because we had some of the women, elderly people, who sold food at the mining sites to these Galamsey operators. So, you have stopped them from doing what they are doing. And so this particular woman, what kind of job is she going to do again?
So she's saying that it's such a woman, for example, saying that the only people who can buy her food are people on the Galamsey sites. Really?
Maybe she came in, maybe they became her customers and so her business has
I think it's a dangerous
for her. So she cooks at home. She knows that this site I have about
a ready market.
A ready market. So yes.
I think it's a very
she's been doing that. We've interviewed a lot of women
women
who have also said that.
For one, Amma, you touched on it. I think it smacks. There's a certain discriminatory tone to it, because there are a number of people who are engaged in illegal activity, not because they love to be deviant, but truly maybe it's a source of income or livelihood, something for them. But if we are singling out this bunch of people who are also engaged in illegalities, then we might as well cut across and say, okay, for everyone who is engaging in an illegality, we're going to find alternative jobs for you. So put a hold on to whatever illegality you're engaged in, and let's find it.
We have identified that this group of people, the job that they do, it is destroying our water bodies. It is doing this. So let's target them. Let's deal with them. We have to let them stop. What can we do, for them to ensure that they don't come back?
So when we finish with that, we move on to another set.
We say that
we move on to armed robbers. We move on to
as at now, we don't even know youth unemployment, the statistics. We hardly hear of it. We speculate. And so if we are going to say that, let us look at it holistically, because there are a lot of unemployed people people around. We have identified these people. Let us deal with these people. That is what I think.
I just think the president and the government should focus on their campaign promises, which was we're going to be creating more jobs, because the creation of the jobs would make this kind of activity redundant, really, because people are looking for better conditions of life. And if they're going to get it from good jobs or better jobs, why not? But if you are going to, like Amma, you're saying, single out Galamsey which is an illegality. I don't get it. It's for me, it's like you are endorsing the illegality.
A bit, yeah.
And it's like,
that's why I have
my fear is you're opening the floodgates. So next time, somebody who sets up shop on the pavement in Accra, and we know this. I mean, AMA goes out to demolish certain structures. They're like, put a human face to it, put a human face to it, and the government will set up another committee. Let's find alternative jobs for these people. I mean, yeah, we're opening the floodgates. I think we should.
I think that is what government is out there to do, you know, ensure that your people, you know, are satisfied in any way and in any form.
It's good to have a responsive government, but not a government that is covered into doing
not
things
thinking of what to do next. It is also, it will be chaos for us.
Like I said, maybe it should have come before this fight started, so that, you know, once you come out of this, maybe government is planning. But again, the focus should not only be Galamsey, it should just be cut across all unemployed people. Government should set up a committee looking into how to get jobs for the youth.
They can't just, so if government wants to find an alternative source of livelihood for these people, how is it going to do that?
It should find for all Ghanaians. That's the thing. That's why they're there. Anyway, this discussion will keep going on and on, but we're talking about the fact that government has set up a committee to look into finding alternative livelihoods for people engaged in Galamseys, and we've tried to touch on that. We know you also have your views, so do let us know whenever you have the opportunity to. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. So this week we were rocked with the news of armed robbery and proliferation of small arms, especially in an area, Tatale in Ghana, in the northern part of Ghana. And some residents have taken it upon themselves also to wield arms to protect themselves. We want to know how best this augurs for our nation. And in our presence today, we have Mr. Bafo Dochi Amoa. He's the chair, International Advisory Council for International Action Network on Small Arms. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
So to delve into it, I mean, we got to know about Tatale earlier this week, where some armed robbers, you know, attacked the rich people and subsequently moved on to attack other people in the area. And this has caused some pandemonium there and also in the nation as a whole. What's your take on this issue?
Well, I think this issue reminds us of the fact that the campaign we have been waging as civil society for many years, the government needs to take measures to take arms away from civilians. It's still a problem we need to address. And so, yes, it's a wake-up call for action again.
But Mr. Amoa, on that note, you say take arms from civilians, but I do know that in certain quarters, we've heard of retired personnel who still have their arms, you know, they take it home on retirement. Is that the right way to go? Is it allowed in Ghana?
Well, this is Ghana for you. There are a lot of things that we do in this country which, in my view, are not right, but we do them. And we need to address this issue because these arms are coming in from legal sources to begin with. When there's a mob action against a police station, people will grab the police weapons because they are not properly stocked.
Right.
They are sitting behind the counter. So any mob action, people go and get guns and grab and go away. Whenever those days we had a lot of coup d'etats in this country, a lot of weapons were all over the place. These days, what do we hear? We hear policemen even renting weapons to armed robbers. So these are challenges we have. And of course, people import and smuggle weapons into this country through our ports.
Apart from the Tatale incident, you know, in the Volta region too recently, you know, I spoke with the Queen Mother for Alavanyo, and she was like, around Saturday, 4:30 a.m. thereabout, they had gunshots. Who were holding these guns?
Well, these guns in Alavanyo and its surroundings are locally made weapons.
Okay.
And our artisans today are so advanced that they are making AK-47, we are told. And with these skills, I heard you talking about alternative livelihoods. This is one of the strategies we've been calling on governments to look at seriously. When you have young men who are skilled and can use their skills to make guns, and you don't have an industry, you cannot monitor what they do, you can't supply them with the right metals. Some of the guns are fired and they kill the person who fired the gun because they are using exhaust pipes, and we have no program to turn these artisans' work into an industry. In that case, then we have to go by the law, which says it's not right for a non-state actor to hold a gun, and this is a decision of ECOWAS.
But every now and then we hear that, you know, the Interior Ministry in collaboration with the police, the Commission on Small Arms, and you know, they have a program where they are able to collect these arms and then they burn them. Last year, for instance, around July or so, they burnt about 1,000 and over arms, but yet we still have these, and we have them. Most of these guns also get into the wrong hands.
Right. July 9th is the UN Day for Arms Destruction. So from time to time, you experience weapons being banned. Some of these weapons are weapons that the police and army have collected or used, or which are no more in service. And so some of them, yes, we ban them to call attention of the public to the fact that we don't think we support proliferation of small arms. The guns that we are talking about are being made daily by our artisans. In fact, recent police reports show that almost 80 to 90%, anytime they go to a crime scene, the weapon used.
That's serious. That's really serious.
So we have a real problem on our hands, and really we hope the government in power will also take interest in the fight that has been going on for some time now in managing these illegal weapons.
Right. You touched on the production of the locally manufactured arms and the fact that it's an unregulated industry.
Yeah.
Assuming it became regulated, we would still have an issue with ownership of these guns, because currently we have a legal regime governing the ownership of guns, which has obviously been flouted left, right, and center. So how would the regulation of the production help in any way?
The first thing that will happen is that the illegal challenge will disappear. So people will have a right to go and buy a locally made gun, will go and register it according to law, and the producers will have the legal backing to produce their weapons. In some countries like Nigeria and Algeria and other places, they are legally allowed to produce these locally made weapons. Ghana, we don't. And I think this is what we are saying. Government needs to look at it.
It's one thing having the legal backing to produce, but on the other side, when it comes to the acquisition of it, there's also that regulatory regime governing it. So I'm just looking at the system, which is currently, in terms of ownership of guns, we still have issues with it. So even if we regulated it, wouldn't we still be bogged down with the bit about ownership of guns and the licensing to that effect?
To some extent, I'll agree with you. On the other hand, I think it will open doors for better measures to be implemented to deal with the issue. Now, if I want to register a weapon that my grandfather gave me, I'm sitting in the house with the weapon and I'm afraid. We keep telling them, go to the police and say that you inherited this gun. You want to register it. The police will register it. Take your fingerprint. Are you 18? Are you normal? All those questions will be asked. But now that we don't allow these locally made guns to be legally made, we will still have the problem of proliferation. Look, some time back, we worked with the police. What did we discover? And there was an association of local producers.
Okay.
An armed robber went to order 20 pistols.
That's right.
Because of this network, they came to me and said, we have this situation in our hands. And I said, okay, go ahead and make the weapons. I will alert the security forces. And the day the guy was going to collect the guns, the police laid an ambush and collected the weapons from the robber.
Why did you give the go-ahead?
No, because we needed to prove that police, civil society collaboration will be able to deal with this problem better.
Right. That's quite an interesting way of dealing with it.
But Mr. Amwa, I just want to know for myself, why, under what circumstance, living in Ghana, I think Ghana is pretty free. I have the ability to do whatever I want to do. Under what circumstance would I want to go and get a small arm for myself? I mean, is it right? Should I even be thinking about it in this current dispensation?
Well, the kind of work I do, I say it's not right, even don't think about it. But let's face reality.
Right.
Taking Tatale, for example, you just mentioned that the people have decided to arm themselves.
Yes.
Because the number of policemen we have cannot reach every corner of this country. And therefore, if people are going to acquire weapons and come and attack them at night, the natural thing to do is to say,
and they have the right to protect
But
themselves.
with that, the onus also lies on government to then provide training or handling of such weapons, wouldn't we?
Yes, the National Commission on Small Arms has done some work in this area. We are hoping it will go to Parliament so that we can have a center for training people how to use weapons. So if you are licensed, you can go to this center and learn how to fire your weapons. Because a lot of people have weapons, they don't know how to use it. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not sure if you mentioned it. I think you did, but just to help me out here, how many? What are the numbers we're looking at in terms of the producers of the locally manufactured? How widespread is it?
Well, it's located in certain areas in this country. The producers are not that widespread. It is the product that they make which is widespread.
So they are quite efficient and effective at what they do.
Yes.
And so from where you said you're the chair International Action Network on Small Arms, how easy or difficult is it for your network, to ensure that these people, in a way, do the right things?
Well, our work has been to establish national platforms to engage their governments, and the regional platform, which I used to be president for some 30 years ago, engaged ECOWAS. And we came up with a convention on small arms because we felt the governments in West Africa needed to take action. If you remember the problems we have in Sierra Leone and Liberia. The good thing that has come out of this is that we now have a transparency principle being respected. No country in this sub-region can import weapons into this sub-region unless all the other 15 member countries, all the 14 member countries remain and agree. That's the first principle in the convention.
Hold
on, let me finish. The second is that you cannot bring these weapons in unless you have an exemption certificate from ECOWAS. Now, ECOWAS has now have an agreement with most of the European arms producers, and they will never ship your weapons unless you have.
But let me ask you, how can that help when we are producing them locally here?
That's the divide. That's the divide between the problem we are trying to solve. Why we are getting governments to do the right thing as legal importers of weapons. We have these artisans who have also acquired the skill because the law said that they could repair weapons when the colonial masters were here, and they have repaired and repaired and repaired, and now they are manufacturers. And we are not looking at it at all. And I'm saying government should really take interest in this issue of production.
And how should government deal with it?
Well, the Minister of Interior has the responsibility to resource the National Commission on Small Arms to begin with, because the National Commission has tried to have dialogue with the association of these artisans, and they were ready to do things differently if we could assist. We said, look, go to Ministry of Health. These artisans can make the screens that doctors need to talk to patients when they are examining patients. Right. These artisans can make plowshares in the agricultural sector. So why is it that we will import plowshares or we import screens just because of some percentage somebody will get or what? Instead of contracting these local guys. And once the money is there, why would they produce the weapons? It goes back to what you were saying. It's a question of economics.
Alternative livelihoods, clearly.
How easy is it for, I'm sure those who indulge in it know themselves, so they have a network amongst themselves on how to access it. But how easy would it be for the person who manufactures to identify that this person coming to buy these set of weapons is going to use it for a bad, activity?
Well, that you will never know. But if the regulation is put in place, then I, as the local manufacturer, will keep records of who has come to buy weapons.
Very well.
And we will have to have them to use the ECOWAS marking of weapons scheme. So that if the weapon is used anywhere or the bullet is used anywhere, we can trace it.
So as it stands now, if you want to purchase a small arm, are there any questions? Is there any form you fill, or you just walk in like you're going to buy meat at the market and I'm buying this amount?
For the underground, no questions asked. If you have the right connections, you will have access to your weapon immediately. The legal ones, if you want to bring in a pistol, you have to write to the Minister of Interior, who will give you the permission to bring the weapon in. And when the weapon comes, you won't get it until you go to the police, and they will do all the checks and the writings and the registration. Then they give you your weapon.
This seems to do the right thing has a lot of bureaucracy, but to do the wrong, it's just I know
course,
you,
it's
yes.
easier, it's easier to destroy
Word
than
of
to
mouth.
build.
But in
so-
terms of numbers, do we know these local manufacturers? Do we know them in terms of numbers? So
Oh, we know them, but I cannot give you a count to say maybe 500 of them currently.
but there are
doing that.
many,
But there are quite a number.
and it's difficult to deal with.
Oh yes, there were times the police were organizing soups. They'll get the tip off, and by the time they get there, everything is clean in Alavanyo. There's nothing burning.
There's nothing.
But when we get the alternative, how easy, I feel this for them is a lucrative job. They like what they do. How easy would it be to move them from doing this into doing another thing?
Well, that's what we are saying, that if, say, the National Commission on Small Arms were made a broker, then they are the ones who are going to work with health and agriculture and say, look, give us a budget you are likely to use on these items.
Okay.
We meet with they will meet with what do you call it, the artisans and say, look, we are guaranteeing you 50 million or 50,000 order. Get going.
But say, I find it difficult to believe that this can come to pass because there are people who come out of polytechnics and have the skill, and even they are finding it difficult to be in a place where they can use their skill. So this number of people, putting them together to actually, you know, come out with the policies, the regulations to get them to work in a better place, I don't know how easy it will be to do.
Yes, there's an alternative. Unfortunately, in this country, you can't go to a bank and borrow money and say, I want to do work.
Right.
So unless we get them into some kind of association, and we can have government guarantees and they can get even loans from government. And as long as we assure them that if they make these screens or plowshares or whatever, the ministries are going to buy from them, then we have a system in place.
Right.
It's so easy to create an economy that is profitable. But I don't know why we don't do it.
Very well. On
Wow.
that note, we have been talking
An
to Mr.
unending
Bafo
topic.
Dochi Amwa. He is the Chair, International Advisory Council for International Action Network on Small Arms. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
So we
sir.
have been talking about small arms and its proliferation, and we have come to the consensus that government should come, you know, put these people together so that we can put a clamp down on proliferation of small arms. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. We are proudly sponsored by Tinatet Herbal, producers of Tinatet Tomac Mixture and Venicare, as well as Grand Rice Company Limited, producers of Leap Tomato Paste. Please stay with us.
Hello and welcome back. Very interesting topics that we have gone through already, and we have another issue at hand to deal with. It has to do with teachers, consistent protest at the Ministry of Education. We really want to know why. Is it because government does not have money? That is why we have these teachers not being paid. It is not only the teachers, but this morning our focus is on the teachers. And here we have King Alidu, and King Alidu is King Ali Awudu, and he is the National President Coalition of Concerned Teachers. Good morning and thanks for joining us here. You look good in your white, you do, but you have a lot of issues. What really is the issue?
Well, the issues are so much that sometimes you don't even know where to start.
How many? Over 1,000.
Okay, so let's start with your arrears. I mean, the
Exactly.
math and science teachers who are protesting
Now,
because
somewhere last year, the Ghana Education Service made a head count, and they realized that majority of our senior high schools lack teaching personnel in the sciences. Basically, the integrated science, biology, physics, chemistry, agri, elective maths. So what they did was that they advertised it,
Okay.
that they needed over 2,000 people. So they advertised it that people that have first degrees, which is the minimum requirement for teaching the senior high schools in these areas, should apply.
Okay.
And they actually did it online. So people applied online. Then they shortlisted it because thousands of people apply. You know, we have unemployed graduate associations. So
even those who don't qualify.
yeah, so many people
yes,
applied.
everything applied.
So at the end of the day, they shortlisted it. And then when they shortlisted it too, they got more than 3,000 people. But they needed just about
About
2,000 people. So
2,000.
what they did was that They then liaise with WAEC to set exams for these would-be teachers.
Wow.
And they sat and wrote questions in the area they are yearning to go and teach. So WAEC came out with the results, and then they scaled it down to the number of people that
They needed.
And then they posted them. And these people were posted mainly to the 3 Savannah regions: Northern region, Upper East, Upper West, Northern Volta, part of Brong-Ahafo region, part of Western region. Places like Ashanti, Greater Accra, nobody was sent to.
So
they
it's
really-
2,000, the number, is that it?
Yeah. So they really needed your services.
Yes. So these people have now been employed. They have been given their appointment letters, and they've started work, and there's the need for them to be paid.
To be paid.
Now, along the line, somewhere February thereabout, a group of them were paid. Just about 500 out of the number were paid.
When you said they were paid, was it everything? Because we are told that currently it's 8 months in arrears. So those who were paid in February, were they paid everything
Those
that was
were-
outstanding
they
as
were
of
paid
then?
3 months.
Okay.
So they started in
yes.
October.
They started in
And they were
October.
paid in February.
Paid in
Yes.
So that was in the full
Yes.
arrears.
No, they were not paid everything. But for that group of people, they have been put on payroll.
Right.
I know a number of them. And since then, every month, they
They
pay.
get.
But the large majority of them, they have not yet been put on the payroll at all.
How
But they are
come?
still
How is
working.
that even possible?
Yeah.
And the issue is that before the Ghana Education Service even came out with all these adverts that they want science teachers and what have you, the understanding was
Presumably
that
they had
the
clearance.
Ministry of Finance have given them the clearance and everything before they went ahead, because the GES under the Ministry of Education is the employer, but it's not the paymaster. The paymaster is the Ministry of Finance. So whenever they want to employ, they need that clearance from the
Yes.
Ministry of Finance. But for that person who needs the job, he or she doesn't care about financial clearance.
Definitely.
What
Because
he
you
cares
asked,
about is that you have advertised the vacancy and I've applied for it. I've gone through the process and you have employed me, and therefore you need to pay me.
So over the period, have you had engagements with the Education Ministry,
Yeah,
the
they
Ghana
understood it with
Education
the former
Service? What have they
Director
been
General.
telling you?
The immediate past Director General, who just was asked to proceed on retirement or whatever it is, 15th May, just recently, made us to understand that there is financial clearance for all these people. You see, the thing that they
before
Did
you move on,
see
was there
the, you know,
evidence?
were there
Was there evidence to prove
or you were
that?
just
Of what?
told?
The
Of the
financial
financial
But that's what
clearance.
he's saying, that for
You
them,
see,
is that
we
they
don't-
don't
you
even
see.
But we
need to
know
We
in
have
the
to be
country we
concerned.
live in, you can't assume. I mean, I bear with you what's going on, but we know there are certain procedures, because I, for one, know that even though you know you're supposed to get financial clearance before you even start working, it doesn't happen in the real scenario. So I just want to know, as a group collectively, was there at any point in time that you sought to find evidence to the fact that your names were on payroll or you had been given that clearance?
Let me just
No, you
ask
see,
a question
the
here
fa-
in respect of that. What would be the what would be different if they found out that there was clearance? I'm just trying to understand. If there was financial clearance,
because
then
we never have trust with Ministry of Finance when it comes to groups of people like doctors, nurses, teachers.
You see,
You
Not
really won't
necessarily,
take
but
that
I
extra
think you
step.
have
The
to
issue
to
is
know.
that- the issue
you have
is
to
that
know.
teachers are needed in the classroom.
Definitely.
You see, then the Director General of Ghana Education Service is the overall boss when it comes to teaching and learning. in
Exactly.
Ghana. And then he floats vacancy and says that we need 2,000 people that we have been
Exactly.
given financial clearance to employ. And the number of people that even went through, even that particular work, was done directly under the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
That recruitment.
Recruitment process.
So the then Deputy Minister of Education in charge of pre-tertiary,
Tertiary,
Honorable Alex Chairman, it was directly under his office. So all the people that were being recruited and everything, all the documents came through his office before it goes to the Director General of Ghana Education Service. You see, so the issue of financial clearance and everything, we held series of meetings where the former Deputy Minister, Honorable Kujato Abraham, chaired, and were told the financial clearance and everything were there. And some of these, they needed some of these teachers to also send them to the newly built
Okay,
Okay,
Yes,
the
yes,
senior. SHS,
See,
yeah.
Because the newly built SHS is starting from scratch, and they needed to resources with teaching personnel. So some of these teachers hardly were recruited and sent to those places. You see, so if government has built a new secondary school and have been sent there to teach mathematics, for example, I see no reason why somebody should even think that there's no financial clearance.
You see,
because
that's
if
why
that financial clearance is not there, that new school that has been built and that the students that are there, should the students be there in that school without teachers and all?
You see, the reason why I go back to this thing about the financial clearance, there's something called presumption of regularity, that the person who is dealing with an entity presumes that everything is done.
Exactly.
So it's not for that third party to be now asked that, did you find out whether or not there was that?
We do. I mean, you know, I'm the same situation. So we do.
There is anybody at all to find out. It will not be those that needed employment then. It should have been we, the unions. Do you understand?
That's
because it is we that, because they themselves never had the opportunity to meet either the minister or the director general one-on-one. They, the employees, they went through a process, and the thing was done online. It was not even free. They needed to go and buy a certain card
to be able to access.
Someone has made money already.
SSC people check their results
online.
So they need to go and buy a certain card, 5 CDs, scratch, enter the code before the, what do you call it?
The form
open for you to fill and all that. And they did all that.
We went through the mail
and
everything.
A whole number of people applied and they were shortlisted. Some got it, some didn't get it. But we, the unions, we were made to understand vividly by the then Director General and then the Deputy Minister, the two of them, Honorable Kujatu and Honorable Alex Trevor, the financial clearance for all these people has been sought. And so they needed them to send them to the deprived areas and also to fill in the vacancies for the newly built community day senior high schools.
So what's the new administration saying?
Now the new administration is saying that those that picketed yesterday have no financial clearance. When we met the honorable, yesterday we met the honorable Minister of Education himself, and that is what he was saying. Now again, it is verbal. He is telling us that those people have no clearance. And that meeting yesterday, the new Director General, Professor Mankwa, was also there. And what he is seeking to do right now is that he said he has written to the Ministry of Finance to attend to their plight. So when the people came to picket, according to him, the Minister of Education, what he did is to show to the group the steps he has taken when he took office to resolve their predicament and other things. So he has to show them copies of the letters he has written to the new Minister of Finance, Honorable Kenufuriate and all that, for financial clearance to be released for them. So sometimes you just do not understand the entire
political dynamics. So I was going to come to that. I mean, before the old administration went, I'm sure you had some interactions with them. Were they able to pinpoint where the problem was? Why this financial clearance up to date has not been given, has not been issued? Have you been able to identify?
So, you see, before the old administration left, they started a process of payment. The process of payment takes certain stages. First, when you are posted, you have to come back to the Ministry of Finance, and then you do what they call biometric registration in the Ministry of Finance. They did all that for them. You have to do the biometric registration of the Ministry of Finance. Controller have to issue you with a staff ID. Then finally, your pay comes. Now, before December 7th, that they left, they had done these two major things. If you do not do the biometric registration
before the December 7th, before the elections, or January 7th, that's
that period.
Before December 7th.
Before December 7th, they did that. They did the biometric registration. No, they posted them before December. Because the academic year begins in September. So they posted them 1st October. And they posted them. So the appointment letter begins 1st October. So somewhere October, November, they did the processes of capturing their biometric data and all that. So we, the unions, we were relaxed because we know that is the process. And we knew that by January onwards, they would just roll them into the system. Unfortunately, new administration came, and then some few received yes, and the others that did not receive yes, the information we are getting right now is that they do not have financial clearance, and I don't see how. I don't know how the financial clearance was released.
Exactly.
Ali, King Ali, I want to find out, are you much aware whether your members were able to go through, the biometric process? They were all able to go through the processes?
Yeah, they've gone through the processes. You
All
see,
of them?
All of them?
Yes, if the problem is the biometric registration, when they picketed at the Ministry of Education yesterday, they will be told that everything is set. What is left is biometric registration. And if that is what is left, even yesterday, that data, that biometric data could have been captured. How long does it take to capture your fingertips? Then that one it could have easily been done. They wouldn't have asked them to go because there is still some paperwork and other things to be done. You see, we are living in a country where sometimes it is so difficult to understand how certain things are done.
Definitely.
Then
Because of the bureaucracy.
we create
I think it is not even bureaucracy. It is
beyond
politics.
yes, that's what it is.
Pure politics.
we create it
that
in the
is-
system.
I think so.
Then at the end of the day, the same politician will tell you that we cannot pay because it is too huge. The same thing is happening to our current,
Mr.
our
Wood,
promotion and all that.
I'm trying to understand the plight you're
It's a
in
process.
because
It must
if
continue.
all 2,000, let's assume the number is exactly 2,000, all 2,000 went through the two processes, how then did they select the 500 or so that they
To be
paid?
paid and others.
That is what we do not understand. Yesterday, we asked the minister, for example. Yesterday, what actually sent us to his office was not even about this. But when we went there, we took the opportunity to ask him questions about what took us to his office yesterday was issues about our second tier occupational pension scheme. So we took him, we took the opportunity to ask him. And what he was telling us is that the documentation that he has inherited indicates that the financial clearance that was given by the previous administration didn't cover
Everyone.
Meanwhile, he also has the documentation that indicates that some S number of people were employed, but some Y number of financial clearance was released. So it doesn't tally.
It's really interesting and very difficult to
bizarre.
It doesn't
understand.
tally.
Very
So,
difficult to
You
understand.
see, the Ghana Education Service is such that in the 2017,
I mean, people cannot impose themselves
Yes.
on the Ghana Education Service that
And the Ghana-
we are
yes.
your employees.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and,
can't be.
these
So-
people have appointment letters
Yeah.
signed by the Director General of Ghana Education Service. And in the Ghana Education Service, you realize that at any particular moment in time, there is so much interference, political this, political that, that is creating a whole lot of issues within the Ghana Education Service.
Yeah.
And every now and then, arrears are being created,
So are these teachers still at post?
They are at post. And you see, many of these people that applied were actually graduates that were living in the urban areas, the big cities.
They have to
But they
relocate and
were
all that.
posted
jobs, so-
to places where they have no relations.
areas.
So what is the next
And they
line
are
of
not
action?
being
You know,
paid.
they picketed.
We need to wrap up, so if you
yes.
could tell us, yes, what's the next
Now,
line of action?
currently, what we, the unions, are doing, and what we have asked the Minister of Education to do, is as a matter of agency, within these few days for this month to end, they should expedite action to get that financial clearance so that next month
They
those
can be
people
paid.
will be put on scale. Other than that, if they come out the next time and they are making the noise and they are weeping, nobody should blame teacher unions if we decide to give them the full backing. And it happens that there is going to be serious outcry there by the entire teacher unions to give them that particular support.
Thank you very much, King
Very
Ali
Awudu.
Awudu. We hope
Hi.
that, I mean, some closure is brought to this issue. I find it so bizarre, really, what's
Very.
happening, but we are behind you. We just hope everything is sorted out. But viewers, this is where we draw the curtains on today's show. This is all the time we have. We've looked at a number of issues. Of course, we had Mr. King Ali Awudu with us looking at the teachers, math and science teachers who've been picketing at the Ministry of Education for unpaid salaries for close to about 8 months. We also looked at the fight against Galamsey and the President's decision to set up a committee to look into alternative jobs for the people engaged in the illegal activity. And then, of course, we touched on
my shirt, so sexy it hurts.
Good morning, Ghana, and welcome to another exciting edition of Captured by Women. My name is Abna. I'm in here with Esi and Nanama. As usual, we have a number of topics lined up for discussion, and we'll be going straight into it. But quickly, let me announce our sponsors. We are kindly sponsored by Grand Rice Company Limited, producers of Leap Tomato Paste, and Tinatet Herba, producers of Tinatet Tomac Mixture and Venicare. So today, what do we have for discussions? We'll start off on the spin, looking at Galamsey, indeed the fight against Galamsey, but this time we're looking at the President's decision to set up a committee to look into alternative jobs or livelihoods for Galamsey workers. What are the likely fallouts of this decision? Are there any positives or downsides to this? We'll be looking at that. On Big Bang 1, we'll turn our attention to